Let's face it. In our own ways, we're all somewhat slothful. There's certainly nothing wrong with it. That's how things work, after all. However, it is precisely in such times of sloth that we overdo our undesirable behaviors. The tasks we want to accomplish, even the ones we find challenging, become easy when we feel driven to do them. However, we lack the motivation to exert ourselves when we are feeling anxious, exhausted, or unmotivated. This is why, on such days of laziness, we often do whatever comes most naturally or easily. That's how most of us act by default. Default refers to the predetermined behavior of a piece of technology when first used. When you purchase a brand new smartphone, for instance, the defaults are already configured for you. A ringtone and background are installed by default. That's the default, and you're stuck with it until you alter it. Our routines are becoming more similar. As humans, we have developed habits and routines that are considered normal by others outside our group. They've become the norm, and we usually carry them out without thinking. Things like reading and expanding one's knowledge base fall under this category of desirable actions. Or they might be unfavorable behaviors like constantly checking social media and smoking cigarettes. It's time to stop seeing all of our habits as givens and start questioning the ones that aren't working for us. We may modify our actions in the same way as we modify our ringtone. And our inherent slothfulness may serve us well in this undertaking. A simple application will do the trick. It was very evident to everyone what Shawn wanted to accomplish. He planned on spending less time in front of the television and more time honing his guitar skills. But he ran into the issue that many of us face anytime we try to alter our habits. He couldn't shake his old ways of doing things. He found that promising himself he would complete the task did not motivate him to follow through. His guitar remained unplayed and untouched in the closet, and he continued to rely on television as his primary form of entertainment. Shawn realized he had to find a way to break his habitual actions if he wanted to see any progress. As a result, he set out to find one. After a while, he learned that in order to play his guitar, he had to first remove it from its case and then go find it in the closet. It took maybe 20 seconds to do all this, but even that little amount of time was enough to discourage Shawn from continuing. He realized this, and promptly removed the instrument from its hiding place in the closet, placing it instead on a guitar stand in the living room. He didn't have to rummage through the closet every time he felt like playing again. He didn't have to make much of an effort to start playing the guitar since it was already out of its case. Shawn modified his approach to watching television in the same way. He had previously removed the batteries from the remote control and stashed them in a nearby drawer, but this time he decided to store them elsewhere. Something was off the following several evenings when he came home from work and immediately collapsed into the sofa in front of the TV. Forgetting that he had already taken the batteries out of the remote, he continued pushing the on button. Shawn had no desire to make the additional effort required to get up and go retrieve the batteries from the other room. Instead, he reached for his guitar and started strumming. Due to this little change, he was able to deviate from his usual routine. The more time went, the less he wanted to watch television, and the more at ease he felt picking up the guitar. Shawn dubbed this method of changing one's behavior the 20-second rule. Basically, he shaved 20 seconds off of the time it takes to play the guitar but added 20 seconds to the time it takes to watch TV. And you may use this method to alter any undesirable habit. This time limit of 20 seconds is, of course, only indicative and not binding. It may take longer or shorter than 20 seconds depending on the circumstances. The aim is to make it easier for yourself to engage in the things you wish to do more often. Contrarily, make it more challenging to start the activities you want to reduce or eliminate from your life. Although this may seem obvious and elementary, I've found that few people really put it to use. And that's a pity, since our environments have a significant impact on how we behave. The hardest aspect of starting a new habit is often just starting the habit itself. You're less likely to begin an activity if it demands a lot of mental and physical effort, particularly if you're already feeling weary or unmotivated. When I talk about activation energy, I'm referring to the amount of work required to get going on a certain task. Activation costs for activities like watching television are often rather low. Getting comfortable on the sofa and turning on the TV is as simple as picking up the remote. The amount of work involved is little. Now, a bit more activation energy is required to initiate physical exercise. However, when broken down into its component parts, weightlifting is really rather simple. This isn't as relaxing as vegging out on the sofa, but it's not exactly a slog, either. The fact that there are so many prerequisites before you can start exercising is particularly discouraging to you. It's a multi-step process that begins with packing a gym bag and ending with a change of clothing and a trip to the gym. There are a lot of obstacles along the path. Working out would be a lot less of an ordeal if you could eliminate or at least reduce the amount of activation energy necessary at certain points in the process. And the same holds true for a vast majority of other pursuits. Most of the tasks aren't really tough. You simply have to put in more effort to get started. Even if you don't really like something at first, once you get started on it, it's simple to keep going. In other words, increasing the probability of a desired action by a factor of 10 may be achieved by decreasing the activation energy necessary to initiate that action. This is crucial because if there is a lot of hassle involved in getting started, it doesn't matter how much you like the activity. You'll probably just give up and go on to something else. Long bike rides are one of my favorite things to do. It's the one thing I can always count on to help me relax, particularly when I'm feeling tense or worried. There is, however, one issue I run into each and every time I want to go riding. There's only one catch. I have to get my bicycle from the cellar first. It takes me precisely 3 minutes to get ready for a ride, yet that may be long enough to make me reconsider. To use a logical term, this is absurd. The thought of spending 3 minutes getting ready to do something I like seems silly. But, as I said before, people are often lazy, choosing instead to accomplish what comes easily and quickly rather than what they really want. This one factor alone causes me a great deal of anxiety at times. Avoiding this would be as simple as going on that bike ride, which I know would be relaxing and enjoyable. In that moment, though, I'd rather stick with the status quo, which is to waste my time worrying about the worst-case possibilities that will never come to pass, than to choose the slightly less convenient choice that would really address the issue. This may all seem ridiculous, but please consider it an illustration of how we let discomfort shape our behavior. You undoubtedly know by now that your environment may influence your actions and that you can utilize this knowledge to your advantage. Here are a few examples of typical issues and how the 20-second rule may be used to solve them, so you can get a better feel for it. The closer your gym is, the more likely you are to go there and fulfill your fitness goals. Preferably on the way to the office. That way, you can swing by on the way to work or on the way home from work. You're less likely to work out regularly if you have to travel an hour each time you want to do so. You should also prepare your gym bag or other equipment in advance if it will be used throughout your exercise. This way, you won't waste time looking for workout equipment when you're ready to get moving. Similarly, some individuals find it convenient to sleep in their workout attire. They don't bother getting dressed in the morning since they aren't in the mood to work out first thing. However, because they have the necessary equipment, this is much simplified. If you're having problems eating healthily, get rid of the junk stuff. Only nutritious options will be left. Of course, once you're hungry and in no mood to cook, you'll eat whatever is closest at hand. It's often unhealthy and ready-made in a factory. However, if you don't already have any hazardous items at home, you will need to make an extra effort to get them. This new hindrance makes it less likely that you will succeed. If you're the sort that still buys junk food, however, you may want to plan ahead on Sundays to have nutritious meals ready to heat and consume throughout the week. Having a nutritious meal ready to eat when hunger strikes reduces the amount of effort needed to satisfy cravings. Accidental phone usage while working or studying is another widespread issue that many people fail to recognize as problematic. Your phone is probably never far from you, and you may begin using it anytime you please. The majority of the time, though, you check your phone because you're trying to kill time and it's within reach. Our phones have become anti-focus gadgets because they divert our attention away from the tasks at hand. In order to prevent yourself from being distracted by your phone, you could place it in a different room or somewhere out of your reach. You'll must get up and fetch it if you need it for something critical. And you'll probably conclude because you don't need as frequent phone checks. Of course, many individuals rely on their computer or smartphone for work and can't just put it away out of sight. They can't change the hardware, but they are able still tweak the software. If you find that you can't stop using social media, try putting the applications in a less convenient location on your device or deleting them altogether. Create a work-focused home screen instead. Again, this prevents unintended social media usage by making it more difficult to access. On the other hand, it simplifies the usage of tools you need for work. The same holds true for computer usage. Divide your time between work and leisure. To do this, you'll need to create two distinct users, one for business and one for play. This way, you can focus on your job when it's time to do so, rather than, say, playing video games or surfing the internet. When it's time to unwind, there won't be any work-related distractions to interrupt your peace of mind. These are only a few ways that activation energy may be altered, but there are many more. Ultimately, it's up to you to assess your current position and determine what needs improving. While the 20-second rule isn't foolproof, it may help you become more deliberate in your actions. There will be times when you just need to watch TV, so when that time comes, get up and go fetch the batteries. Some days I won't have any trouble retrieving my bike from the basement, just as there will be other days when I do. The idea is to be conscious of and in charge of your habitual responses, rather than reacting to whatever is easiest at any given instant. For this reason, I suggest you take stock of your immediate setting and consider how you may use an extra 20 seconds of activation energy. The first step is often the hardest, so keep that in mind. Therefore, facilitate the beginning of the acts you want to do while preventing the initiation of those you don't. You'll finally have the power to control your actions thanks to this. I have one task I'd want to simplify for you right now. This is the process of education. I would like to encourage you to visit today's sponsor, Skillshare. If you haven't heard of Skillshare before, it's an online learning platform with thousands of lessons. Everything from business to making software to making art. It also doesn't matter how skilled you currently are. No matter how much or how little experience you have, there is a course out there for you. Although, with so many options, it may be difficult to know where to begin. I recommend Thomas Frank's course on habits as a means for easing the choice. There you will get an in-depth understanding of habit development, a concept that is useful in every aspect of life. Because I am eager to get you started as soon as possible, I have included a Skillshare link just below. You may try out the lesson without spending a dime by signing up for a free trial of Skillshare's premium membership using the provided link, which is valid for a short time only. You may also lessen the effort necessary to get started with constant learning by bookmarking the Skillshare website. To reduce potential hassles even more, you may make it your default homepage. Keep in mind that you want to reduce the number of mental hurdles in your life, and that entering search terms into the search field each time is one of them. Anyway, I appreciate you sticking around until the credits